We're bringing it old school.
Listen.
Team Crispy,
it's kinda
old man
wild.
edition.
What's going on, guys? It's UrAvgConsumer, and today we got a really cool chance to go to the Google headquarters and check out some really interesting stuff that they've been working on.
We saw the secret things that we're not allowed to talk about.
Well, we can talk about.
No, you can't do that.
We've already said too much. But no, honestly, we did see a lot of cool stuff, and I'm talking like top secret stuff. We got to go into Google's quantum lab and meet all kinds of engineers working with quantum computers, which look like chandeliers, but they're over 100 million times faster than the world's most sophisticated computer we have today. And, you know, we should probably get one of these in for like a massive tech unboxing. But all jokes aside, this is the kind of stuff that the future is made out of. And you probably wouldn't believe me, but these things have to be cooled with a temperature near absolute zero, which is just mind-blowing to think about. But we saw some other stuff as well, like the Google Street View garage tour. And here we saw like the earliest iterations of the cameras and vehicles they use to map out and capture the street view in Google Maps to the kind of tech they're using now. And it's just crazy to see how far they've come from a quality and size perspective. And we also got to tour their X Lab, and this is the area where they work on the craziest, most outlandish tech I've ever seen to solve some of the world's largest problems. And it's all really cool stuff. We've been hearing about a lot of the cool things that Google's been working on since, I think, like I/O earlier this year. Yeah. Me personally, I was a really huge fan of the, what is it, Realtone?
Realtone, which is Pixel 6 for now, but the idea is that they're using machine learning to better, I guess, expose for skin tones, because obviously that's a huge problem.
So these cameras don't really expose well for, you know, darker skin tones, and Google takes that into consideration with this whole new method. So that's just something that really stood out to me, because I've been complaining even on the channel for years now that cameras, sometimes it feels like they ain't made for us. So it just feels really cool that Google's solving problems that a lot of people don't really even know exist.
Well, I think the thing that a lot of this stems from is the machine learning, right? And I think up until this point, a lot of it has been very theoretical. It's been very like, oh, you can process blah, blah, blah faster. It's not really relevant.
Yeah, you don't really see within these keynotes sometimes what the benefit is to the end user, how it really is going to impact us in our everyday lives. But now we're starting to see these things come into fruition, which directly impact us. So machine learning is actually starting to become a huge benefit beyond just some like the cool techie data things that we used to hear about.
Think about taking a photo, right? When you're trying to capture stuff on a phone, it's not just snapping a still like it seems. There's a lot of processing that goes into before and after you press that shutter button.
Yeah.
And when you think about it from the context of what they're doing with, specifically with the skin tone, it's able to take and go, okay, cool, here we're gonna adjust this one up, down, left, right, whatever the case is, but to try to maximize what it should do on each side, which is so cool. And that's like a practical real world benefit. Some of the other stuff that we saw today in regards to audio is another thing that's being done on device that can help people who may not be able to have sort of normal speech, but you can still be easily understood with some of this stuff. Like that's the real world practical benefit. But when you train these neural networks, like it makes a big difference, and we're starting to see a lot of this stuff come out.
Yeah, absolutely. So what Austin is referring to is actually called Project Relate. Just the name in itself, like, you know, relate, you know, because it can relate to some of the issues that a lot of people are having that you just don't know needs a solution like what Google offers. So it's like this cool app that someone with a speech impediment can speak into the app, kind of like what we see with Google Translate. And there are like 3 different outcomes. You can have it translate the speech into text or into a voice that is synthesized that can be more easily understood for folks who aren't used to hearing that kind of speech, or it can be used to control a voice assistant.
Alexa, play some classical music.
What they're doing is essentially an extension of what they're already doing with stuff like Google Assistant, right? Well, essentially what they're doing is they're making an offshoot of that to then focus on you and your specific speech. So if you have a slightly different way of speaking that maybe isn't being picked up by a normal algorithm that has been trained on quote unquote normal voices, well, the way that they do with Project Relate is you sit down and you train the AI model itself. And then they're able to build a custom model attached to you, which is going to be linked to your Google account and then processed live on your device. This is not something that would be possible without the massive amount of hardware and the software they're developing, right? So I think it's worth kudos for like, that's very, very cool. So I'm curious, as someone who obviously spends a lot of time with tech, what's your level of comfortability with Google and the amount of data, right?
So for me personally, I'm completely comfortable unless they start synthesizing an image of me and making these like political videos that I didn't actually shoot. I feel like, hey, listen, if this is going to make my experience better, sure. What about you?
I guess I'm a little more unsure of things. So at its core, Google is an ad company, right? They have a huge amount of incentive to be the information company, where you get information of all kinds to make Google search better, to make all these kind of bits of information, whether it's YouTube, whatever the case is, right? But ultimately, it does kind of come down to selling ads. Now, I don't think either of us can sit here and with a straight face tell you that that is bad. We would not have jobs if YouTube ads did not exist. But I do think it's worth considering the data you give and how it is being used. Not to say that you should say no to it, but I think it's not a absolute no-brainer, yes, I'm gonna do this all the time.
No, that's fair. And I wouldn't say, hey, give all your data, don't ask questions, just go ahead.
Yeah. But you trust what they say and what they've done. And
there are gonna be things that improve my experience based on having voice data.
Yeah. You know, the voice data,
I'm fine.
I don't worry about too much, because any AI model that wants to learn my voice could just watch about 3,000 videos. So I've kind of given up on my voice being private.
Right.
You know what we shouldn't give up on? The camera that just ran out of battery.
Yeah, let me go change that.
Fix that real quick. Hello, welcome back to the Austin and Judd Show.
Yeah.
We're currently taking donations to take the show on the road. So if you like, visit.
But it was cool to see some of the other things that Google was. We talked so much around what we actually saw.
Well, no, because we can't talk about the secret things we saw. Walked out, they mind wiped us.
Now, one big thing that we got to see was actually the X Labs. So the X Lab is basically where Google finds a problem and they're basically trying to solve it there through technology.
Yeah.
And we've seen lots of different things come from this. Google Glass,
Waymo, the self-driving car project. A lot of what makes Google cool is that they fund these moonshots of designing and making wild, ridiculous things that on the surface don't make sense, right? I mean, we walked through a lab where, again, I don't think we got footage of most of this, but like they have dummies next to water filtration systems, next to robots, next to
giant
cars.
Underwater cameras.
It's like they need to be able to prototype anything, because depending on the problem that comes up, someone goes, hey, you know what? It'd be great if I had internet in the middle of the desert. How do we do that? I don't know. Oh, let's go build a bunch of weird and see what happens.
But I can appreciate that. You know, I can appreciate looking into what problems they can solve for people who you might not know need that problem solved. It was pretty wild, but it was actually a really good time.
How about the campus? Okay, the Bayview Campus is the most outrageous building I've been in my entire life. Solar roof, insanely huge ceilings, thousands of people working inside.
Yeah.
Unbelievable what they're doing here.
And that took them
7 years
to
start
put together.
to finish, from the idea to building these.
But yeah, we had a really good time at Google, hanging out and seeing just all the crazy stuff that's being worked on. But till the next video, guys, hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you, Austin Evans.
Thank you, Justin.
And
Shout out Justin holding on the camera.
Justin
His arms
being
are
the
dead.
B cam. I know you, listen, and Justin's tired too.
Yeah. This is an old school video.
And I'm an Apple fanboy.
All right, you went too far.
That was too much.
But yes, huge shout out to both of you guys. I appreciate you, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
#Team Crispy.
Yep,
Oh.